the after action reviews. This was, I mean, like I said, every person brought it up, every person globbed onto it, and that was going to be the one thing that they were going to implement into their life. And it pairs itself well with that self-reflection, but also being able to look back and prepare and look forward a little bit better. So walk me through the after action review and how it's been so valuable.
Yeah. So the after action review is taken from the military. And when you think about elite teams and elite organizations, you can look to the military and the special operations for being elite. And there's a number of reasons for that. And one of them is that reflection tool called an after action review. And you could do this for an individual or for a team or for an organization. So it's really scalable. And the whole premise is to deconstruct an event that happened. And it's very simple. You're just asking 4 questions. What did I expect to happen? What actually happened? What did I learn? And what will I do differently next time? That's it. Very simple. Simple yet really impactful. And if, for those listening, you could probably think of a time where you've had something that happened. You're like, okay, yeah, we won or we lost that deal, or it went the way I thought it might go, or it didn't really go the way I thought it might go. And that's kind of it. There's no real goal that's captured and lesson that's leveraged. And so having this framework gives you a very simple process to follow to say, okay, well, what actually happened here? And what's the insight that I can then leverage and make one small adjustment moving forward? And again, this could be on a micro scale for an individual. So like right after you get off a call with a prospective client, you could say, okay, well, what did I expect to happen in this call? What actually happened? Did we get to the endpoint or the next call or whatever CTA to move them down the line to become an actual client? Did that happen? Yes or no? Well, why is that? What did I learn from that interaction? Was it in the questions that I asked? Did I maybe not lean in? Did maybe I get caught off guard? And then you take that information and say, well, what will I do differently next time? Either for a similar type of client or a similar situation. And when you can do this consistently and build this into your process, it starts to give you this powerful tool of pattern recognition where you start to notice the themes and the trends and you don't repeat the same mistakes. You learn from them and you actually leverage that to move you forward. And so all of my clients, they know that when we get on our sessions, the very first thing we do is an after action review. So from the last time we met till now, I take them through those questions and we really index on the lessons learned and the change in their behavior. And that's what we're tracking against. And for teams, this becomes an incredibly powerful tool. You need to educate the teams on how to do it properly because it's not about role, it's not about status or title. It's not about how they felt, it's purely about the facts. And that's very different than the classic kind of debrief or retrospective, where oftentimes you're kind of pointing fingers like Bobby didn't do this, Sally didn't do that. No, that doesn't matter. It's getting everybody's perspective on what they saw because everybody's perspective is unique and valuable. And you're just getting down to the core facts. And then you create this mind share through that process. And then you log all of those lessons and the changes of behavior so that everybody is learning from each other, whether it's within one team or cross functionally across other teams. And that's how, as an organization, you move very quickly. And that becomes a competitive advantage.
Yeah, I think the team component of it and sort of looking at an event and looking back on it, it reminds me a lot of if you're working in live production, you have a postmortem on an event and say, okay, this is the event's over. Everyone's left except for us. Let's go over what went wrong and what went right. And sure, there's shareholders there and there's titles still there. And some of the feedback that I get from our advisors is people aren't necessarily honest in
Definitely.
those moments, even though you think, hey, no, this is a safe space. You can say whatever you want. Well, not everyone believes that because they've been tricked before or whatever. So, in that scenario, how do you fix that? How do you fix it when an advisor doesn't feel like we're not maximizing those after action reviews or those postmortems on if a seminar went well or what went wrong in our sales process?
Yeah, well, you alluded to it a little bit. I'm curious, from your perspective, when you've done those, what do you think really gets in the way there?
I mean, it's probably consequences of speaking freely, I would
Yeah,
think, would
yeah.
be well, I really have something to say, but my boss is sitting right there and he's gonna be my boss tomorrow too. So I gotta be careful. I gotta tread lightly. I gotta think carefully here.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing in that, maybe said another way, is it's fear. Fear gets in the way. And that's a very real thing. And oftentimes it's an indication of the culture of that team or that organization. And so to help mitigate or change that takes just a lot of education and a lot of reinforcing. And oftentimes when you're introducing an after action review, a lot of pre-framing. And what I mean by that is saying like, hey, here are our rules of engagement of how we run this meeting. And it takes the constant reinforcing that. And then whoever is facilitating that meeting, at least initially, has to be really good about saying, hey, we're getting off course here. Remember, just the facts, not the story, not your interpretation, just the facts. And just by the act of doing that, I'm actually working with another um, company and organization, and they do production as well. I'm helping the team kind of get better at accelerating this process for them. And it's a lot of education, a lot of reinforcing the fundamentals of what it actually is and what it's not.